Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to our fourth session. This is a very special session because, as you know, we are going to celebrate 17th anniversary of our dearest Professor Dr. Honoris Causa Kemmersänger, Francisco Araiza. So I welcome you. Hello, dear Pedro Pestana of Portugal.
Hello,
John
dear
Rubin,
Eugenia.
John Rubin. Hello, Ofer Amir from Tel Aviv. Erki Bianco aus Paris. Ron Scherer from United States. Hi, dear Ron. My dearest lieber Professor Jürgen Wendler. Fantastisch, dass du da bist. José Manuel, mucho gusto. Giovanna, ciao. Adi.
Hello.
Iris de Argentina, querida, preciosa. Inter from Turkey. Hello. Peter Hulin aus München. Also, great. Philip, welcome. You are very welcome, and you will be also, of course, with us very soon. Laura Breyer aus Wien. Querida Lau. Marianne Speaker Henke, Bremen. So fantastic to see. Sarah Harris and Tom, dear friends from London, how are you? And Rosa de Fermete, very nice to see you. And lieber Wolfram Seidner from Berlin. Wir sehen uns dich nicht, aber das freut mich, dass du dabei bist. Salvador Ginori, welcome. And also Luis Andrade, mucho gusto. And I don't know if we have more guests here. Yes, of course. Is also, let me see. I think I have already. Oh, Andrea Ricci Maccarini. Ciao. Rafael Araiza, nice to see you. Eteri, very nice to meet you through this session for your husband. And also great greetings to all the family. And my dear Antoinette, liebe Antoinette, das ist eine Ehre, dass du bei uns bist. Also, that is great to see everybody. And as you know, Collegium Medicorum Theatri is a group of scientists, artists, and medical doctors who are celebrating the artistic voice. And so it's a great pleasure for me to welcome everybody. And I am very thankful to Francisco Araiza that he is joining us through all this session, and he will be answering your question and discussing your comments after the academic session. So I am very pleased to have you this year. I hope everybody is in a good health, and I hope not any one of you have reached the SARS-CoV-2, this coronavirus, but it is also a wonderful thing to see you all together. Jorge Johanssonberg aus Stockholm, nice to see you also. Okay, so we shall begin, and I welcome you all. We shall begin, and my dear Hartmut Bartel is also with us today, my dear husband. Okay, let's begin with our session. This is a pleasure to talk about one of the most important tenors of our time. Our dear Professor Dr. Honoris Causa Kemmersänger, Francisco Araiza, has his roots in Mexico. Their parents were a musical family. His father was a musician and also an organist in Morelia, Michoacán. So Francisco, we call Paco, has a great heritage of music because he was also singing in the children choir, and also he studied music. But mainly after he developed this special singing voice love, he met through his father our dearest soprano, the great and famous Irma Gonzalez, one of the Mexican sopranos with a world career, but also a wonderful singing teacher. He studied with Mrs. Irma Gonzalez at the Conservatory of Music in Mexico City, and also he had wonderful other teachers in the musical school at the University National of Mexico. He met Erika Kubaszek, a wonderful Austrian musician who was helping him with the repertoire, with the German language, and with all the musicality that he needed as a tenor in order to have all this wonderful precision in singing Bach, Haydn, Handel, Mozart, and Rossini. So through these two wonderful ladies, Mrs. Irma Gonzalez, a great soprano and singing teacher, and Mrs. Erika Kubaszek, who was also a musical director of Condivium Musicorum Theatri, and also another supports like the register Carlos Diaz Dupont, the opera director Luis Berber, and Mr. Ricardo Rondon. He went on with his career in Europe. He has a wonderful family with Mrs. Ethery, with Ricardo, his oldest son, Cecilia, his oldest daughter, Abesalom, and Laura. And we cannot forget that when he came to Europe, as he's going to tell us, he began with a singing contest, winning, and then after that, through the luck and through the opportunities that life brings to us, he had the opportunity to do the first digital recording of my flute. Of course, he had a wonderful career with different composers, as we know, Gounod, Wagner, Offenbach, Gounod, Richard Wagner, and also, of course, he was specialized in Mozart and Rossini. But he, through these 50 years of wonderful career, he had many opportunities to sing all over the world, small concert hall with lead, but also in the great opera houses all over the world. He became Kammersänger from Vienna Opera, that as we know is a honorific title for distinguished singers in opera and classic musicians. It was given in the 19th century by princes or kings as Hofkammersänger, but now the federal president of Austria, through the proposal of the responsible federal minister, gave to Francisco Araiza this honorific title. After that, he became Doctor Honoris Causa of one of the most important universities of Mexico, Universidad Michoacana San Nicolás de Hidalgo in Michoacán, one of the greatest and most famous universities in Mexico. Also, the Stuttgart University made him professor in singing teaching. So he is professor by Stuttgart University. He is Doctor Honoris Causa through the University of Michoacán, and he has also the honorific title of Kammersänger. He has had several prizes all through the world, and one of the most important is that Mexico, through the section of Fine Arts, Bellas Artes, gave him the gold medal when he got the 40th anniversary of his career. He has several recordings, many of them also available through the network, and he has also have the path open to another great Mexican tenors like Fernando de la Mora, Ramon Vargas, and Javier Camarena, among many others. So this is a great pleasure for me that I have met Francisco for many years to celebrate with Collegium Medicorum Theatri this 50th anniversary of a great career and also the 17th anniversary of his life. So I thank you very much. And now we are going to begin with our program. So dear friends, we are really very grateful to Professor Dr. Francisco Araiza, who is going to tell us about his experience with this wonderful director, Herbert von Karajan. As we know, they had 22 concerts together, and they have several, about 7, I think, Francisco, recordings of great operas. So please tell us, how was your experience with this wonderful musician, Herbert von Karajan?
Well, I can say that my experience with Karajan was really magic. Not only because he was a master of magic. He used to say about himself that he was able to convoke the ghost in the podium where he was making music. And you really had the feeling that it was so. It was almost a mystical act. Seeing him conduct, it was a mystical experience. And getting to know him was also in a certain way mystical as well, because he knew about me the first moment I opened my mouth in Europe. Well, I made my debut in Karlsruhe with my first role as Ferrando. The first character that sings is the tenor, it was me. And in the post, Karajan knew already about me. So I got an invitation to audition for him in Salzburg. That happened 2 years later. Met him for the first time. Then he gave me some homework to do for the next year, to present him some titles. It didn't happen because he had this accident with his spine that almost led him invalid. But he still could walk, no more as sporty as he was, but he could move until the end. And finally, in 1969, I auditioned for him again, and that was when he came to me on the stage and said to me, from this moment on, you are a Karajan singer.
Wonderful.
In 2 months, a couple of months later, 3 months later, we were already recording the Magic Flute, the Magic Flute, and 1 month later, Falstaff of Verdi, which we presented in the summer of 1980 in the festival, Salzburg Festival. From then on, two things. When he said to me, from now on you are a Karajan singer, it was such a predicate that to get the conviction that you can convince such a personality gives you the confidence that you can convince anybody, everybody. And that again is magical. We had lots of collaborations together in different concerts, different stages. and different recordings. And it was always the feeling that you had the feeling that every one of those would be his last. It was such a perfection in the fulfillment of everything. Emotions, catharsis, enrichment of what you just had as an experience. That you had the feeling that's going to be the last one. Every single time was like that. Also magic. That my career took the path it did was in many aspects due to this cooperation between myself and Maestro from Karajan. Because to have this apostrophe, this predicate, to be a Karajan singer really opened doors all over the world. So I'm very thankful for this experience and for the maestro, which was a total enrichment in any aspect.
And was he very strict in the musical proposal of your roles?
That's a great question.
Did you respect also what you propose?
Well, that's a great question, because when you ask colleagues that worked with Maestro Karajan, from Karajan, orchestra, chorus, singers, whatever, instrumentalists, whatever. And you ask them, how was your experience with him? It will never be the answer. Oh, it was so wonderful and so pleasant to play or to make music with him, because you could relax and enjoy and so on. It was not possible, you know. When the maestro, along with his presence, and when we took his hands up to start, everybody was like this. You know, the sharpest point of concentration, in accuracy, all the red lamps and the antennas were driven out, and everybody was like this. So you were not able to make music in a comfortable form. But the result was amazing because of that. He demanded with his soul personality everything from you. Everything.
And I think he also was very clear, thinking that in the opera, the singer has the most important part, not the orchestra, because as we know, there are many presentations that the orchestra is sounding louder than the singer. So what do you think about his approach to this?
Well, Karajan,
singing voice?
Yes, Karajan loved voices and loved his singers, really. He had a special relationship with singers. And he was very strict with all of his musicians, as I said before. But with singers, he was a little bit willing to be less demanding, because he knew that he has to count with the cooperation of his singers to arrive to where he wants to go with his goal of interpretation. it with an instrumentalist, this is different. You know, you give a tempo and you say, you have to cope with it. And you have to be able to do it. Otherwise, you cannot play with him. The singer, he was willing to give a little bit of field for you to develop. But the secret of him was that once he achieved this little puffer, he would take you like this and form you. As you were a plastical creation of him, like this. He was not conducting, you know, like usually beating the bar. No. He was really sculpting you with his fingers, with his hands, with his energy, like this. So it was magical.
It's wonderful, wonderful. So now we are going to talk about your experience with some other directors. So you have had the opportunity during these 50 years of a wonderful and glorious career to be with many opera directors, scene directors, musical directors, technicians, and well, this is a huge richness for us to know all your experiences and some of the small adventures that you have, for example, with Carl Böhm, with Zeffirelli, with Herbert von Karajan, you have already told us, with Sir Colin Davis, of course, Zubin Mehta, Daniel Barenboim, the great Eduardo Mata, Enrique Limeke, wonderful Mexican international director. And well, what can you tell us about that? And of course, Berber also. And please tell us some of these small adventures that you have with these great personalities that made so much for the opera and music and singing world.
Okay, let's start with Eduardo Mata. He was the conductor of my debut. He was presenting Fidelio, this wonderful opera of Beethoven, was presenting it in 1970, the Beethoven year. And he was at that time director of the orchestra of the university. And we had a very, very beautiful hall, Auditorio Justo Sierra, where he did his concerts, presented his concerts, conducted his concerts. And so somehow I heard that he was going to present his Fidelio, and that the great maestro Ernst Römer, that was the head of the class of lead at the conservatory at that time, and a very, very intimate friend of Eduardo, was taking care of the cast. He was putting the cast together. And I was already with him, with Maestra Irma. And then she said to me, you know, they are going to present Fidelio in a concert version, and you could sing one little part there. If you want, I would like to introduce you to Maestro Römer, and you can sing this part. So I said, which is it? He said, the First Prisoner. So if you want, we take a look at it, and then you go and audition for it. So we did. He brought me to Maestro Römer, and I auditioned for him, and he said, perfect, you're perfect. I will talk to Maestro Mata, and then you will do it. I will tell you. So he contacted me, and he said, you are going to sing, so you have to present yourself with Maestro Mata, the university, and this day. He's going to be waiting for you. So it was the first day of rehearsal. He was just like 5 minutes before he was to go on the stage. He received me, so I came in. He was writing and signing it, so he didn't even look at me. He did like this, and hello, Sate. He said, "You're going to sing The First Prisoner?" I said, "Yes." You know, you're going to be with the chorus, with the tenors, with the chorus in the first row, and when your entrance is approaching, you will have to put your music in the chest so that I know who you are, where you are, okay? And then you sing from there. You are going to be the whole time there. Okay, I will do that. So that was it. That was it. So I went and stood there, and what a privileged place to be, because I was seeing everything. I was seeing Mata, every gesture, everything. I was studying him. The public, the reaction of the public, especially the incredible reaction to my dear friend Ignacio Clapés that was singing Florestan. Amazing, amazing. Well, I did as I did. When my part was approaching, I put my music in the chest. He sees me, and then he starts conducting me. And that was it. And many years later, almost like 13 or 14 years later, I came to Japan to make a tournée of concerts, of recitals, Liederabende. And the promoter that brought me there happened to be the same producer from Eduardo. As he picked me up from the airport, he said to me, do you know Eduardo Mata? I said, oh, that was the conductor of my debut. I know him from my debut, and he's the most important director in Mexico and many places. I said, he's wonderful. Because he's here. He's here, and he's having a press conference. If you want, you can go and greet him. When we arrive to the hotel, you can go and greet him. I said, oh, that's a good idea. I will do. So we arrived to the hotel. He said to me, okay, let's go immediately because the press conference is going to finish in 5 minutes or so. So we enter the auditorium where he was making this press conference. And he saw me and he said, Francisco Araiza, the Mexican tenor.
Wonderful.
The best singer of Schubert and Mozart. And this Mexican. After that, we went to have dinner, and we became very, very close friends.
Very, very nice. And tell us about your Colin Davis that you were also.
Yes. With Colin, it was also a beautiful adventure because he was the musical director of CoMeT. And I was invited by him to audition. But when I arrived, he was not there because he had to fly to the United States in short notice for a very important invitation. So he was not there, but he said he wanted that the equipment, his team records my audition. So I sang in Covent Garden, audition in Covent Garden, and the tape was sent to him to New York. And so I didn't hear for quite a long time. I didn't hear anything from him. But then suddenly, I got the invitation to make the recording of Freischütz with him. And I was quite astonished because I haven't met him. And I was very pleased to be able to do this part with him. So it was a wonderful 2 weeks that we had for the recording. And from the moment we met, it was a very strong connection. He liked my character and was trying, he said to me later, he was trying to find out, why am I so dangerous? What makes me so dangerous? And I said to him, I'm the friendliest man in the world. I said, no. You are very dangerous. And I am analyzing that, but I'm not still yet. I don't know if he found the truth or not.
So you never knew what did he meant with that?
You know, I didn't really wanted to ask him, but when I decided to ask him what he meant, because he also in my portrait, he speaks about that, and so I wanted to ask him if he had reached the answer. And just before we met, he died, so I couldn't find out what he meant.
This is interesting because, of course, a young singer like you with a world career, you have ambitions. Would it be that dangerous or not? Well, nobody knows what he thought about. And what about Franco Zeffirelli? Because as we know, Franco Zeffirelli is a great artist. And how was working with him?
You know, he was the most aesthetical and he was careful about the smallest thing in his decoration, in the stage, and in his scene work with singers. We were working together, and somehow also another good connection between both of us. He liked to talk with me and to ask me things and to discuss with me different things, also from the work. And about all my experiences with Karajan, for instance, he wanted to know my experience with Karajan. He wanted to know what I mean about his mystic and his personality. And so we talked a lot together. And we came to the rehearsals, and the rehearsals were great. You know, we did Bohème together in Rome. And my colleagues were the greatest. It was Mirella Freni singing Mimi, Nicola Giauro singing Colline, and it was really first-rate. And so we, that was the first time I worked with Mirella Freni. And when we arrived for the first rehearsal, she said to me, listen, my dear, I have a requirement for you. And I said to her, do you know what? From me, you can require whatever you want. I just do it, okay? So what is it? She said, oh, no, forget it. No, forget it. It's okay. So we had really fun working, and we arrived to the general rehearsal. And at the end of the general rehearsal, we had, during the scene of the duet, the first big duet, where Rodolfo sings his big aria, explaining to Mimi what he is you know, there are lots of hidden messages there. And he sort of is therapeuting himself, because he has been lacking of inspiration for quite a long time. That's why, you know, when in the first act, he burns his last novel, first act to the fire, second and third, he cannot care because he knows it is garbage. It doesn't have any worth and any value. But in this area, and with the contact of Mimi, his inspiration starts to come back. And in the area, he sort of puts the pieces of his personality together again. Mimi is going to open for him the actual inspirational tunnel during her aria, but that's another thing. But at the end of my aria, he comes to her in the front of her, you know, looking at her eyes, and tells to her, now that you know me, I would like to know who you are. Could you be so kind to say it to me, tell it to me? How can you do this phrase if you are not looking at her in the eyes? So I did so, and Seferelli came to me and says, dear, I think you're making a big mistake, you know. This aria you have to finish for the public. To put this question to the public, open it to the public. I said, I cannot. I really cannot. I think it's the right thing to do. You know, there is something that's lacking on you. And that is, you know, excuse me for the words he said, but he wanted to explain it very clear to me. He said to me, you are lacking la putanata italiana. So really go to the stage and open yourself to the public, you know? And I said, that's not me. So we arrived to the premiere, and I was thinking, he said to me, think about it. Well, I was thinking about it. And on the stage, I couldn't do it. I had to do it as I did, and came, kneel in front of her and ask her to tell me her story, who she is. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't awaiting any applause whatsoever, because you are going to lose the applause. And so I did it, and I said, okay, I won't have any applause. But people started clapping very strongly and very long. And I didn't want to break the magic, you know, because we really made it to create magic. And but the public was clapping so long and so loud that I really had to thank the applause. And in a most discreet way that I could, in order to not really jump out of the character in that moment. So I just moved my head up and moved it down again and came back to her. But in that, they started to scream, bravo, and everything. It's a big ovation. And even Mirella said to me very quietly, bravo.
Yeah, this is interesting to know that this is an artistic creation, what the singers does with the composer, and of course with the composer role and with the director, the scene director, and musical director, because it has to be a complete atmosphere of the opera presentation. So it's
But
interesting to know what happened with the great Franco, no?
That is the thing. They have the responsibility for the scene. So he is the scene director. He can require of me whatever he wants. And I have to cope with that.
And tell me about...
But let me tell you what he finally did. After the premiere and after the big success, he came to my dressing room, embraced me and said, "You are right. Don't listen to me."
Oh, this is a very important, humble opinion of the great Franco Soffielli, because as we know, as you said, the scene director is irresponsible, but he also noticed that it was the emotion that you have to express to Mirella in this case, and it was also important. And what about Fernando Lozano, our great Mexican director? Which adventure did you have?
With Fernando, I met him still being in Mexico. When I made my debut with Eduardo and Fidelio, then I started to get invitations to do concerts. And just after I met Maestra Erika Kubacek and started working with her for the creation, just a little bit before of that concert, I got an invitation to sing the Britain Serenade in the Palacio de Chapultepec, el Castillo de Chapultepec.
Wonderful castle.
In the terrace, on the top.
Marvelous.
Beautiful, beautiful place. And I said, are we going to have some acoustic or something? No. It's a beautiful acoustic there up there and everything. It's wonderful. You will enjoy it. So I studied the part and I fall in love with this part. And we started rehearsals with Fernando. At that time, he was a very, very slender guy, very elegant. And as I saw him, I thought, oh, he's Gustav Mahler, young Gustav Mahler. And a great musician, of course. And so we start rehearsing and everything. We enjoyed a lot this piece. And I didn't know yet about my possibilities of going to study to Europe. That came a bit later, not too long time later, but came later. And but Fernando, he was very pleased with this concert and said, we are going to do many things together. So he's planning a tournée with his orchestra, and he wants to take me with him. We are going to visit North America and South America. So he would like to have me to do the tenor parts of the work he's going to present there. And I will send you the list and everything, and then you have to come with me. I said, okay. So it was quite a tournée that he proposed me, but at that time I was still working half-time as a business manager and half-time studying music. So I said to him, I cannot leave that long period of time because I have work and I don't get vacation from my boss, so I won't be able to accompany you. But when you do concerts in Mexico, maybe you would like to invite me, then I would come with pleasure.
Great experiences, because you were in the 20s, and as we know, Britain is not so easy to sing at that age. But anyway, It's wonderful.
Yes,
and
but
also the acoustics are also different in an open space, like the marvelous terrace.
You know, he was such a fantastic musician, conductor. I was already very critical of music and of what I'm going to learn and everything. And what he did was just amazing, just perfect study of the partiture and the style and everything. It was amazing. And we happened to meet again when I came back from Europe. So from that was the only time we met in Mexico, and we had these big plans. But we started to realize them once I came back from Mexico, because we did a couple of very, very beautiful things together. We did a gala concert in the Sala Netzahualcoyotl. With him, I did my first Tosca in Teatro de la Ciudad de Mexico, and we had a wonderful concert in Los Angeles. He was a guest conductor of that orchestra at the time, and and we became dear friends too.
Very nice. And tell me about Daniel Barenboim, because as we know, we have enjoyed wonderful presentations from Daniel Barenboim, because he's a very complete musician and also
yes.
Opera director. How was the details that you can tell us about your adventures with him?
Well, Daniel, as a matter of fact, I knew as a pianist first. Wonderful pianist. And I haven't met him yet. But then I became an invitation to do the recording of Roméo Juliet from Berlioz. And to do it in Paris. And he was doing Berlioz cycle. And I said, okay, I will take a look to the part. I will see if that's something for me. And I saw the part, and I loved the part. It's only one aria, but very, very difficult. And I remember going to Paris, and Daniel was the most kind young man. For his nimbus and all of his fama, what he already had enjoyed, because he was a professional musician from a very, very young age. And so as I met him, I said, wow, I thought he would be an older person. But he was very, very kind. And you know, what happened was that I was able to study and to prepare my parts in such a manner that I considered it already a final product. Because I didn't need the help of a conductor or of director of scene to create my characters. I made my own opinion of the dramatic content of the characters and the stylistic requirements as well. So that when I came to the conductors, or I came to the directors of scene directors, they had already a product that they could just immediately start to form. It was not that they had to begin from the very beginning. And they acknowledged that immediately. And, that was the reason why for them maybe they could feel that they could open up with me and talk to me in a partner level. And because, you know, when you meet somebody, it is always the establishment of the hierarchy. First of all, is I am the authority, you have to obey. Or let's create something. In between, there are lots of possibilities. But with Daniel, with Claudia Bado, with Ricardo Muti, it was the second when I met them. We can do something.
And this is
with the others, with Karajan, Böhm, and Zeffirelli, was the first one. I am the authority, you have to obey. But then it worked well, both ways.
Anyway, Herbert von Karajan had also he also accepted your ideas because you already have studied all your creation as a singer in character that you were going to sing. So this is, I think, is a very important message for our audience that the singer has to have his own or her own character stories about culture, about emotional situation, and also about vocal situation. Of course, as you say, this sculpture can be also from the scene director and from the opera director, because as you told us, Herbert von Karajan was also in a complete situation to accept your proposal.
You know, you are right. And when Karajan said to me, from now on, you are a Karajan singer, then something happened in my mind. I said to myself, if I was able to convince Herbert von Karajan, I will be able to convince anybody, everybody. Because what I'm doing is right. And with this attitude, with the attitude I kept on studying my pieces and digging deeper and deeper. And every time, you know, having these experiences, as I was telling you with Daniel, for instance, that we became also friends and we did lots of beautiful things afterwards. Concerts and the master singer later on, Lohengrin with him already in the heavier repertory, Cavaradossi also, Oscar, many beautiful things.
Yeah, this is great to hear this experience. So now let's see a little video. Wonderful to share with you all these experiences, because the singer has a very important part in all the equipment, because we have to see that as a team with an equipment. Equipment is of course the voice, but also the artistry that you have to create as a team, but you have a very important and protagonist part of all the creation. Now we are going to talk about change of repertoire. As we know, our dear guest, Professor Dr. Francisco Araiza, has one of the most complete developments in his career. That means he has been changing of repertoire, but he began with Lieder and he began also with Mozart and Rossini. What can you tell us about the different composers you were interpreting the different roles as a tenor, Francisco?
Well, every composer has their own requirements for the singers. If we speak about Richard Strauss, one of my favorite composers, he wrote so difficult for tenors that you can think he didn't love them. It is really tough, and but somehow singable, you know. It is not impossible, but you have to learn to cope with it. And most of the time, the important roles he wrote for Helen tenor, heroic tenor. And when you start learning these parts, you immediately find out why. What is he requiring? First of all, you have to be sure that when you are going to change repertory from the so-called elegant repertory, from Mozart, Rossini, Donizetti, Bellini, even if all of them had in the creation different characters and different themes. All of them like to compose comedies. All of them like to compose lyric, and all of them like to compose dramatic scenes, dramatic stuff. So you find in all of them, all of the tenor categories as well. You find the light lyric, elegant tenor for the roles of princes and everything, noble people. And then you start growing into the dramatic, into the dramas, and discovering that when you go to the drama, the physical requirements of those parts is much higher than that of an elegant tenor. The elegant tenor has to move himself like on the toes. You know, very light, very easy, very slender, weightless, if possible. In the moment where you go to the drama repertory, you start finding that you need a certain connection to the floor. You cannot triple anymore. You have to put both feet in the floor and connect to the floor. And that's a process. When you start doing that, you start to feel how your legs activate themselves to be absorbing and sending energy up and down, how your belt starts to reinforce, your shield as well, and you start to become stronger, physically stronger. You can be doing the same exercise routine as you are doing up to the time, but these are the parts that require this new physical statement from you. And finally, as you are developing these skills, you are gaining weight, vocal weight. That's why it is so difficult if you are having a career that is in the move and you want to, you want to add new repertoire, which is going to be heavier. It's going to be a little bit of a problem for you. Trying to cope with the requirements of the heavier repertoire, learning this new implementation of your body and of your skills, and eventually have to go back to the other one.
Yeah, this is
where you just have to fly.
This is very, very interesting because, as we know, we need another flexibility. For example, for the Italian repertoire and for Mozart. So it's very interesting because physiologically we need to have an equilibrium between what we are expecting from the voice and the repertoire and what your skills have been developed and also your maturity.
Yes, especially when you arrive then to the final dramatic repertoire, that requires from you the total commitment, physical and vocally speaking, physical and vocally speaking. That means you have to really dock yourself to the floor and try to make all of the cave of the scene, this incredible acoustical environment, sound with you. To make it sound, reverberate with your voice, with you, with your energy. Nevertheless, as you are used to fly, so to say, when you sing the light repertoire, the elegant repertoire, and the elasticity that you have there, when you develop into the heavy repertoire, you don't really forget those skills. If you are careful, you can keep them with you. They won't be as light as they were, but the result will be that you will stay elastic, and you will be achieving the mechanic that your energy is going to flow steady. There won't be any saturation or any breaks of the energy flow, nothing. So you can keep that and sing the heavy repertoire with all of the demands also in a very elastical way. And that's what I try to do.
And tell me, Francisco, about your energy, because as we know in the dramatic roles with heavy and dramatic personalities, you have more energy than in a commedia or in another Donizetti or whatever from the Italian repertoire. But have you felt that that was something different in your energy load or overload?
Oh, definitely, Eugenia. The requirements of energy are immense in the heavy repertoire. You have to be able to control the diaphragm, so to say, the diameter of your energy tube. To reduce it for the lighter repertoire, enhance it a little bit for the middle repertoire, and drive it out totally for the heroic repertoire, without losing that flexibility.
Yeah. And in your experience, which was the heaviest role from which composer that you had in your career?
It was an adventure, really an adventure, because it was the Hagenbach in La Vallee. The opera La Vallee, this beautiful opera, but the part for the tenor is very dangerous. Very dangerous. As I told friends that I was going to sing that part, the comments were, I know better roles where you can lose your voice. Better than that one.
It's quite that. So let's hear a little bit about your repertoire.
So this is very interesting to understand the singing voice mechanism, because as we know, there are different physiological functions that are not, from the natural point of view, are not made for singing. But due to the development of the human mankind, mainly of the hearing and of course of the brain, we could develop this through the ages, also with the wonderful help of the different composers like Monteverdi, Verdi, Mozart, and so on. So what can you tell us about the support, the breathing, and the placement that we have to do in the singing, and mainly in your experience in all these wonderful operas and concerts that you have been doing through these 50 years? And what are you telling to your pupils in the singing lessons?
What I tell them is that we have to learn to sing with a modern singing technique. There's a very big difference between the ancient school of technique and the modern school of technique. This modern school of technique presented itself in the generation of the end of the 19th century into the 20th century. This generation, around the flag porter of Enrico Caruso. It was not he himself alone. It was this whole generation. It was like a cosmic inspiration. The main difference between these two techniques lies in the breathing. The old technique started from the so-called point of rest of the lung, the one we both have at this moment, point of rest. From there, they started to spend the air to sing. Then they relaxed, and the lung absorbed as much air as necessary to come back to this point of relaxation, point of equilibrium. And then they went on. The new generation went the other way. They filled up the lung to maximum capacity for the first time. Now imagine, and from there they started to sing. Imagine the amount of power that they developed through this new way of breathing. The explosive strength, the explosive capacity of the voice was immense, though there was a big danger that in the old generation, it was imperative for the singer to use the natural support, which is support of pressing. Because they had to learn to control this pressing in a manner that they could expel air constantly, having the flame of a candle in 45 degrees inclination for 1 or 2 minutes. They did it. They could do that. But if the modern singers would have employed this kind of support, due to the immense power, explosive power of this full capacity of the lungs, they would have pressed the sound in a form that it would have become impossible for this sound to vibrate. There's only straight, very straight, hard sounds. To avoid that, they discovered the use of the flanks, and with it, the expansive support, which we do against the natural one. There's two different things. Another mechanical process that we do against nature is the process of phonation. You will know that the sound, the so-called sound wave, starts when the column of air meets the lips of the membranes of the lips of the vocal cords. Then this sound wave travels up to talk into what we call our radar, which is the nasal architecture of bones behind our nose. When it connects, this wave of sound wave becomes sound. So this process of foundation from down upwards, we have to change, to turn around. And instead of producing this sound like this, oh, from down to upwards, we let the sound descend up from upstairs like a pendulum. Maximum point of descendance is the height of the eyes. And you can fix these different ways of descendance, activating your glands. You are not allowed to go further down because then you lose the resonance of the voice, the optimal placement of the voice.
Yes, this is the singing mechanism. That's why the students and the young singers, they have to practice a lot. And sometimes they say that breathing or support exercises are very boring. But we do know now that through all the musical instruments and also through the times that we have been learning about this singing voice mechanism, through the scientists and through all the new studies like resonance, endoscope, and stroboscopy, we do know many things that we need to practice everything, and the placement in the resonance and the resonators is very important, as you say. And which is your experience, for example, with avoiding that some of the young singers have a lot of nasal resonance?
It is an illness of our time. And it comes from the only masterclass that Maria Callas conducted in the Juilliard School of Music in New York. And she was trying to explain a singer probably the use of the bell. As you know, all of your technical range has to be sung in the bell, not in front of the bell, or behind the bell, or on the sides of the bell, just in the bell, inside the bell. And she was trying to explain that to her, but she didn't get the right words. The right movement she did, but not the right words. So tu devi cantare più avanti. Sing to the front. It was totally misunderstood. First of all, because she didn't mean that. And because singing to the front is not a process, but a result of many very complicated mechanisms that make that your sound goes to the front and projects as far as possible after doing all what you have to do to achieve that. You cannot send the voice just like this if you are not schooled, because it doesn't work. But many people insisted, in sing to the front, sing to the front, sing to the front. And by that, they got prisoned the sound in the frontal frontal third of phonation. We have 3/3 of phonation. Frontal third, which is the mask, the middle third, which is the perfect one to sing because it lies exactly on top of the column of air, and that's where we have to sing, what we have to sing. and the back third, which is the richest of all of the three. The frontal third has immediate borders, and it shows one of these abuses, so to say, of the mask is this nasal sound. One of much more of them.
So let's hear now one of your videos. As we know, there are many wonderful experiences that the singers, as Professor Dr. Francisco Araiza, have during their lives, their artistic lives. And this is with great moments of meeting world personalities. Which is your experience and your thoughts about these experiences that you have had with wonderful personalities of the world? Tell us, Francisco.
Well, of course, it is a great privilege to be able to meet with this kind of people, very prominent people, achievers in their own fields, and indeed, great personalities. One element in common that all of them had was that they were or are great human beings. Love the arts, love culture, and especially are all representatives of humanism. They are all humanists. And that is something incredible to feel these personalities in this form away from their field of action, where they are masters or were masters. But getting to know them as persons privately was really very enriching because of that. And that's why I say that it cannot be soon enough for children to get in contact, to get acquainted to arts as soon as possible, as early as possible, to arts, but especially to music, because music is the nearest of all them. The Germans call that the unmittelbarste, the most direct one.
An immediate one, yes, of course.
And this approach, this contact with arts, and especially with music, at an early age, makes out of you a music, or music not in the sense of the music in itself, sondern, to say it in German, there are the people that are musisch, der musische Mensch, and a musischer Mensch.
Yes, this is great.
They have the muse, the inspiration, and this channel gives you the possibility to become a humanist. If you get in contact early with arts. If not, you have to work a lot to achieve that.
Yes, you are completely right, because this is not only the superficial way of meeting personalities, but also what does it mean a career, a singing career, a musical career, and also the human approach of the music, what music and singing voice brought to the humanity and brought to this civilization. So this is one of the most important messages of the music, because music is life. What could we do without music? And also the singing voice, as Richard Wagner said, it's the most wonderful musical instrument because we have the emotions, we have the thoughts, and also we have the expressions, because in the singer career, this is not only success and glamour, but also expressions and reflections about what is happening. So we enjoy a lot what you have told us. And of course, we are very thankful as human beings for your career. And mainly as a Mexican, I am very proud of you and very thankful because you made possible this long career of 50 years, and also made possible that many other singers, Mexican singers, as we know, Fernando de la Mora, Ramon Vargas, Javier Camarena, among many, many, many others, wonderful singers, could make possible the presence of Mexico in this musical world. We thank you very much. And well, now come our closing remarks.
I thank you from my heart.
So I thank you very much, dear Francisco, for this wonderful interview that you were sharing with us, all your great experiences. And of course, there are many themes that we have not talked about in this anniversary, but I am sure we will have another opportunities to talk about that, the other themes that are more, perhaps more technical and more human, and well, talking about 50 years career and 70 years age is a wonderful experience for Collegium Medicorum Theatri, and we shall enjoy also having you with the World Voice Day celebrations online, and we invite everybody. We thank you, and of course to our members we have the closing remarks that I am very thankful to everybody that could stay a little bit longer, because our guest is an honor guest and we are going to have the live discussion with you. But I want to announce also on February 27, we shall have our next monthly sessions with our usual presentations of the Collegium Medicorum Theatri members. And do not forget to make your proposals. We have wonderful proposals, for example, from Dirk Murbe about aerosols and COVID in singing children and singing adults. We have also proposals for Andrea Ricci Maccarini. So be our guest and send your proposals. And of course, we need your curriculums vitae for our webpage. It's important that you send your photo and the data that you want to publish. And we are going to open a new small section about the presentations of the new members from 2020, that they talk about 5 minutes in video, because I think it's the most easy way to do it, about their careers and their join to the artistic voice. So I thank you, everybody, and you may stay in the live discussion. And of course, we are going to send a big applause to our guest, and our guest is staying with us, and I thank you for that, dear Paco. So now we are going to begin with the live discussion, and I would be, I give the first place to Peter Hulin, because Peter Hulin was also a medical doctor from Francisco, and he has two interesting questions to ask our Francisco. Please, Peter.
Good evening, Professor Reiser. Do you hear me?
Yeah, yes,
A
yes.
little bit
Okay.
louder.
You,
Yes.
doctor,
Okay,
yeah,
a little bit louder.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
Okay, it's better now.
Yes.
One,
yeah,
two, three,
yeah.
one, one. Okay. Good evening to all of you, and especially to Professor Eiser. I would ask two questions. The first one, the music industry changed over the last few decades. How do you see the singer and the challenges in these changes? And
Well,
furthermore, one more question maybe to the very actual topic of the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. If a singer is very talented, and what would be your advice for a young talented singer when you see how cultural life is suffering in these times?
so nice to see you, dear Dr. Julian. The world of the opera and the world of singing has had really dramatic changes since I started singing up to now. I still could start my career in the so-called golden time, where you had the institutions that were supported totally as it should be by the government in Europe, and institutions of high reputation around the world that were very settled through the years, having continuously delivering their art to the people. With the fall of the Iron Curtain, all what we knew was normal collapsed. The main reason was the amount of young singers or already mature singers that came to the Western world, and the possibilities of work didn't develop. They remained the same. So it started a kind of new environment in the amount of singers, well-prepared singers, by the way, that were challenging the ones that were already there. And were competing as well for the new places that freed because of the careers that move ahead, and or singers that for some reasons lost their voice, whatever. This saturation brought, first of all, a collapse of what we knew as the so-called economical environment, which was settled. In the moment that when you have more offer, you are capable to talk about paying lower fees. You have the possibility to offer lower fees for singers that more or less have the same qualification. And that happened. The structure of the salaries broke down, and started a new way of competition. That was the first step. The second step was when the singers of Asia began also to come to the Western world, Europe, United States, Latin America. That's what we knew as our cultural environment. And with great instruments, great voices. And we started to get acquainted to them, to learn about their values, and to start to see a different picture of having these beautiful, interesting Asian faces in the orchestras, in the courses, and on the stage as well. And that was first Korea, then it was Japan, and then China. And so we have now our actual world is a world which is full of competition. The competition is really tremendous. When I started, the occupation of an opera singer was already one of the most difficult to be able to make a living out of that. Imagine after this new saturation, thanks God, I must say, that especially in the Asian countries, it exists a sort of a boom for Western music, and especially for opera. They are building opera houses, they are building universities of music, and especially in China. So they are creating these places to be able to give work to their musicians and also for musicians abroad. It is a new development which is very, very lucky for everybody, because it will ease this tremendous competition that exists now among young artists. This competition makes it also very, very difficult for an artist to really pursue a career. What you can do is really be thankful if you can live. You can make a living out of your art nowadays. And with this pandemic has been really terrible for everybody, especially for independent singers. Thanks God, in Europe, the support for artists was a little bit put aside at the beginning of the management of the pandemic. But now there are also financial programs that supports these people, these freelance singers or musicians in this terrible time. I must say, I am very positive about the appearance of the vaccines. I think this enrichment of our arsenal to fight against the pandemic is going to be a key factor that we can eventually find our way back to normality in due time.
But you studied economic and music.
Yes.
What would you recommend a talented singer now in this time?
That's a very interesting question. You know, I think as a singer, especially every one of us gets certain talents. But talents in art are very special because these talents are accompanied by the obligation to share it with human beings, with your fellow people. You have to share your art. And if you get such a talent, you are able to live, to try to develop a dream. And just because of a pandemic, we are a very lucky generation, incredibly lucky. No wars over more than 70 years. Something had to happen, but it's going to go away. With these achievements in the science and the medicine, that also in the electronic, you know, that we have found so many new things that are going to be very helpful for the future of us all. So I really say to my young singers, stick to it. Have a little patience, learn as much as you can now. increase your knowledge as much as you can, and be patient for the opportunity, because that's what we do. There is not a patent recipe how you can make a career.
Mhm.
But what you can do is to prepare yourself the best way possible to bring yourself in the point where you can be chosen to make a career and live your dream.
This is great because you are completely right, Francisco. We have now another opportunities, but we cannot forget that in the artistic voice, you do need all the talents that you have, and also taking care of your health, mainly for the artistic voice, and the technique and the study. Because as we have seen through your career without coronavirus, of course, we have seen that the musicality, the talents, it's also a discipline thing. And well, we enjoy that. And I want to say also hello to Pigu from New York, to Isabel Garcia from Madrid, to Cory Casanova from Barcelona, to Jans Beck from Prague, and to Katrin Newman from Münster in Germany, and of course our dear Chris Izebski from California, and many other, Matti Weikert from Regensburg, and we have also the company from our dear friend Irma Zapata. She is the daughter of our dearest Irma Gonzalez and his beloved husband that is also a medical doctor and my companion at the university, Arturo Russo. And well, let's keep on. Of course, Marco Fantini is also with us from Italy, and many other friends like Mara Bello from Brazil. They send you a lot of greetings. And of course, our dearest Linda and Will from New York, that they are saying hello. And as you know, Francisco, many of our Collegium Medicorum Theatri members, they are in charge of many of the artistic voices and singers all over the world, like Linda, William, Pigu in New York. So, and our dear Alan Burma, he's also visiting us, and he will become, I think soon, also a CoMeT member. He's visiting us from Tallinn. Hi, Alan, and many of our other Mexican friends also that are great to see here. So I think Matti Weikert from Regensburg, he wanted to ask something. Where are you, Matti? Or if somebody else want to have comment or discussion? Yes, Jorge Fajardo, please. Open your microphone, please.
Yep. And for me was a great pleasure to listen all the important and interesting things about my dear maestro Francisco Araiza. I'm very happy to see you again and to learn so much about you. My question is about tenor repertoire. Uh, After our 30 years old, what kind of tenor roles we can sing and what kind of tenor roles we cannot sing yet. Could you tell me more about that, maestro?
Hola, Jorgito. Gusto en verte.
Gracias, maestro.
The development of a voice has not necessarily something to do with the age, the physical age. So that you cannot say when you become 30 years old, you will be able to sing this in this repertoire. The important thing is to know if you are in possession of an instrument that eventually will have this process of development, or an instrument that very soon will reach its maturity, and then thank to your skills, technical, and of course, your behavior, health situation and everything, will stay like that for a longer period of time. But will stay in one repertoire. There are very famous examples of that. Alfredo Kraus was one of those. Edith Mattis was one of those. There are many, many important singers that discovered they felt early and stuck to it until the end of their careers. So first of all, if you have an instrument that will eventually develop, that is something that your vocal teacher will tell you very soon, because when you work technically with a young singer, my teacher, Maestra Irma Gonzalez, used to say, the technical work has to have a reference to the work you do with an elastic. You know, you start expanding this elastic and start feeling where are the borders, in order to not approach them in a way that it could eventually make it break. Not abuse that elasticity, you know, just feel, here's some resistance, we'll leave it like that for the moment, okay? You have to keep on working technically your whole life. So this elasticity will probably develop on time. But as you know, as singers, we always need this second pair of ears and of eyes that eventually will tell us, you know, yes, your voice is going to develop, or no, don't dream about that. So you do have a voice that will develop. I told you that.
Yes.
But it's not a question of age. Is the most important thing is for you to feel what your voice is asking of you. That you give it to the voice in due time. You have only one chance to make this step. If you lose it, it's gone. As Franco Corelli one time explained, very wise man, as he was asked why he didn't achieve to sing a Othello. Very intelligent man. He said, in the time when I was asked for my voice to go this step ahead, I got the most incredible contracts to sing French repertoire. He was a beautiful man, slender, tall, beautiful. Romeo, Werther, Hoffmann, these were roles that only a voice like him or like Alfredo Kraus could sing in big houses and fill the rooms with sound. So he accepted these offerings, these engagements, knowing that that would somehow mean a lack of opportunity for his development into the heavier repertoire, into the dramatic, really dramatic repertoire. So be careful, very careful, but try to feel what your voice is demanding of you. And always with the control of a good teacher.
Of course.
Very important.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Maestro. Gracias.
Thank you, Jorge. And this is also very important to say that we do have physical limitations for the repertoire, as you said, Francisco, but also many of us from Collegium Medicorum Theatri, we insist also in taking care of the special mechanism for having this artistic voice, like hearing. For example, our dear Catherine Newman from CoMeT, she has a big project about hearing problems. And also these singers, even though they are hearing properly, sometimes because of their own musical atmosphere and also the entertainment noise, we can also have hearing problems. So this is very important. I shall ask Erki Bianco, because Erki Bianco has also been a medical doctor from Francisco, and after Erki, I give the word to Will Riley. Please, Erki, tell us about your experience with Francisco in Paris.
Yeah, when I saw him first on stage in New York, it's great to have a patient.
So nice to see you, dear doctor.
Very nice to see you again. And it's great to have patients. You see them much more on stage than they come to see you in the office. So it's very great when they have good, wonderful technique and beautiful style. So you don't need to see them much. You have to go and see them. So that's a big experience. And this is what I hope for all the young singers, to be able to have the doctors come and see them instead of the other way around.
You know that we become sad that when you are on the stage, you are all alone, all by yourself. But you know what? We have our angels. And to these angels, you are part of them. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Our doctors, our phoniators, our
and this is, thank you very much.
Otorhinolaryngologists.
Thank you very much, Erki and Francisco. And this is one of the main purposes of Collegium Medicorum Theatri. As you know, we had our 50-year anniversary last year, I forgot, not last year, but on 2019, because last year is like a year that we are going to raise somewhat because of coronavirus. But anyway, Collegium Medicorum Theatri is a group of scientists, of technicians, of medical doctors, and artists also, because we are as a team working for the artistic voice. And this is a main sample, for example, between Erki and Francisco and Karen Jusen and Francisco and many of our great artists. So we cannot forget that the soul of Collegium Medicorum Theatri is the artistic voice as a team. So please tell us, Will Riley from New York, please, we hear you.
Yes, well, thank you, Maestro, for giving us your insights into your career and the career of others around you. I have seen you so many times in New York City at the Metropolitan Opera and a couple of times in Europe as well. But what these wonderful people don't really know is that among my many clients, I'm a singing teacher in New York City, my many clients that have worked side by side with you. Carol Van Ness thinks the world of you. Teresa Strada thinks you're one of the best colleagues she has ever known.
Oh.
Tenors from other parts of the world, my client Ronald Naldi from Rome and now at the Metropolitan Opera, they aspire to be just like you, although he's the same age that you are, but they love working alongside you. And working as an artist, there are many artists who are very much alone on the stage and they feel they have to do it on their own. But in reality, when we look at a cast of an opera, it's truly an ensemble and many hands are involved in the performances. And they appreciate you helping them. And I know that you appreciate them helping you.
Oh yes, it's really a dream. When you have your colleagues, you know, could you know that you can rely on them and then start feeding you with energy and with ideas. It is just a creative process that grows and grows and grows immense. And those are the moments we search for when we are on the stage.
Most importantly, I think you have been a great example for the young artist in the MET program and also other programs. When I was a young artist, I was in the Chicago Lyric Opera program, and I had a few wonderful people that helped me out and gave me support and gave me knowledge. You have done the same for the young artists at the Met, and for that, we really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your ideas with us today.
Thank you so much.
So this is great to hear all these details, because they are very important as a team on this stage, and in the rehearsals you have to be together. And we do know, as human beings, there are many not very nice situations, like jealousy, like anxiety, and many other things that we have to share. And for example, sometimes I was working with Irma Gonzalez, the great teaching singer and singing teacher of Francisco, and I was at her studio, and I was watching, as medical doctor, I was watching all the marvelous things that she explained to their pupils, and also the kind of advices she gave us for the medical doctors and for the singers about working as a team, and not to forget that when you are on the stage, even though you are singing alone, you have a huge background of many other persons that are willing to have success. Like Francisco said, with Herbert von Karajan, with Zeffirelli, and so on, because everybody wants a success, and we cannot forget that even though the part that the singers is singing, well, we do have a huge team. And now is Matti Weikert from Regensburg. He wanted to ask something. Matti, where are you? Okay, you may ask Matti Weikert, but open your micro, please.
Yeah, good evening, but I have no questions. I'm hearing the very interesting and fine lectures, and I will see what's going on. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
From
you.
Bavaria, with huge snow. We have 1 meter, 100 centimeters snow.
Wow, fantastic.
This is great. Somebody from the audience wants to ask something to Maestro Araiza?
I wanted to make a comment.
Well,
on
I'd
Dr.
like
Bianco.
to ask Dr. Bianco.
Yes, that says, yeah, we didn't see each other that often. But the times I was with him, and it was very funny that I was talking about Franco Corelli when then Dr. Bianco came to ask. And he was the doctor of Franco Corelli too. And we talked a lot about Franco Corelli. And he gave me some magical drops, which we baptized the Corelli drops. They were really incredible, incredible. And I used to take them everywhere. So your drops accompanied me for years, 4 years. You were with me for years. And even then my colleagues too, they become very curious. What I was drinking in this glass of water that looked a little bit amber somehow and smelled very peculiar. One day I was singing Tosca in Leipzig, a fantastic soprano, beautiful woman. And before the opera started, she saw me drinking out of my glass these magical drops, and she asked me, "What are you drinking?" I said, "Oh, I will tell you later." So I went to start singing and so, and obviously I sang very well because before she was to enter the stage, she took my glass and drank. the first thing that she said, Mario, so she came in. What are you drinking? I just tried. I hope I still have my voice. Well, she sang gorgeously. I said, you see? Erkis drops.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what
I want to say something to Paco. I want to send you a kiss to my brother.
Irmita,
Congratulations.
nice to see you.
And me too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I love you. So
thank
much.
you, Irmita,
Thank you.
to be with us, because as a daughter of the great Irma Gonzalez, I have pictures from you in Madama Butterfly with your mother as a beautiful child from Madama Butterfly. Wonderful, no? And I wanted to tell you also, when I was in Barcelona with Professor Jorge Perelló, that everybody knows that he was also a Collegium Medicorum Theatri member, he said to me, well, I was a young student. I was studying in Vienna with Professor Friedrich Frank at that time. And he said to me, well, our magical drops are in nebulizer. So you have to inhalate this formula, because I had the practice with Montserrat Caballé, and they were wonderful. So since then, I mean 80 years, I am using still this formula for our inhalation from Jorge Perelló and Montserrat Caballé. So it's great, and well, there are many natural things that we can try. But as I say to all the singers that visit me in my practice, I say, well, but be careful, because there are many allergies that you can develop. So, for example, for eucalyptus, so things like that happens. No, I don't know if Chris Izdebski from California wants to join with some comment or some questions, or yours to say hello. Chris?
Well, thank you for inviting me to join and to do some comments. First of all, I appreciate Francisco Arazia professor's lecture. And I teach at Conservatory of Music, and basically in San Francisco, some of your ex-friends participated as a faculty there. But the question that I have for you, you were talking about the bell that was Caballé was talking about. I couldn't actually get it exactly what were you saying. What's inside the bell? Could you repeat a little bit more, maybe a couple of sentences?
Yes, it is really very important that a young singer gets acquainted to this phenomenon of the bell. The first question is, what do you think that the bell could be? La campana, famosa campana italiana, la campana nella voce. What could it be? Well, it is the chapel of our architectonical voice construction. Just the chapel, the cupola. And that is the place where all of the technical range has to go in. There are 3 doors to get in. And those 3 doors we know as the turning of the voice, the covering of the voice, changing of vowel of the voice. As we have 3 phonal thirds with different formats, each one of these 3 doors activates one of them. The first door is the hook, the famous tenor. Okay? This is the first turning that we use to hook the voice to the mask, like this. To achieve 2 things. First of all, the projection of the sounds. And second, the phonal angle of the emission. As you know, a natural voice has a phonal angle or 45 degrees upwards. The artistic voice has to have a phonal angle of 45 degrees downwards, like this. Natural voice, ah, 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 ah. Okay? From there, ah, ah. That to achieve with this first turning, with the fifth. Okay. The second turning is.
We lost your microphone.
Sorry, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have it on.
Yeah, but it's very, maybe you moved away because it's.
Maybe, yeah, because I moved away to show you the.
Yes, that looked.
Okay. Am I back now?
Not as good as at the very beginning.
Oh, such a pity.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Okay, the second turning is the spiral. You know, it is as when you put a new ball in the sea, like this. Typical phrase for that. Talor, talor, talor. Okay, that's the second turning. Third turning is the big turning through the back wall of the voice, also known as the Corelli turning, which you would do like this. Three turns, and all of them have to be in the back. Three different doors. The objective is to make the bell sound.
Thank you.
Yes, Francisco, the technician, they tell me if you can stay near the microphone. Do you have another question, Chris?
You know, so Erki used to say something like that, what you're just saying. Erki, can you give some comments of when you're saying your voice has to go forward?
It's one of the things due to the harmonic composition.
A little bit nearer the micro bit, please, Erki.
Not enough? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Here.
No. Come on. Don't be afraid.
Just kiss the micro.
So it's important to have the harmonic composition of the sound. So the one that gives the impression of being forward, it's the lower harmonics of the same sound. And then the sensation of going the hook and going forward and going to the end of the audience are the upper harmonics. So in one of the lessons of Francesco Araiza, he was telling a student that a bass that was going down the note, and he said, okay, you have to go up when you go down. It says when he was putting the upper harmonics in the sound while the note was going down, and it changed all the world. And it's much easier for the pressure, it's much better for the vocal cord, and it's much better for the public and for the music. So it makes a beautiful line, which is what you can hear. It says for the birthday of Francesco Araiza, on YouTube, you have the favorite opera moments. So for 1.5 hours, beautiful example of what Francesco could do.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to ask Ron Scherer, where are you, Ron? Yes, please. If you have some comments about what we are talking about, the harmonics, and of course, the placement, what Francisco told us about his experience as singer and as teacher.
Well, first of all, it's just an honor to hear you, Francisco, talk about your technique and your professional life, and just a wonderful human being. And frankly, what I was hoping was that there was going to be more discussion on what you just discussed about the location and technique. And that, I think, is one of the strongest pedagogical moments of today for all of us and those who wish to be singers and those who are coaching and helping. So that to me was a real gift. And I'm glad that we stayed on as long as we have so far, so that you could share that with us. So thank you so much. This is a great day for all of us.
Thank you all for this honor.
Yes, if you can tell us a little bit more, for example, Francisco, on the repertoire, the placement, and also the place that is important in each of the languages that you are singing in, for example, French, Italian, and of course, German. If you can tell us also about the differences between lead, sing lead, and sing opera. But we would like to hear you, as Ron has already said.
Yes, you know, it is very important.
I don't know why you don't we hear you very not loud enough.
Somehow I think that my microphone.
Yes, it's now. Now it's better.
When I sing.
Yes.
So I won't sing anymore. And very important to analyze what kind of tonality is necessary for one certain piece. You don't sing everything in the same way. As I was newly working with one soprano, who has a beautiful, gorgeous voice, rich voice, round, beautiful. And we started to sing, to work in Fiordiligi. And she started to sing with a full voice, and I said, oh, that's not the right tonality for this style and for the character. So I said to her, try the niche. We have a certain position here, more or less in this height, and 30 to 40 centimeters ahead of our head. That we call the niche. When we are discussing about the turnings, eventually we will start combining them, you know, enhancing them. This first turn is not obligatory to do it only in one way in a certain place. Because this mechanic you can do here, 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 you can do here. Okay? And when you think about this niche, you use also the first turning, but you have to locate it very good and then to lay the voice inside, the sound inside. Ah, the sound that I have here, and then that's in the niche. Ei parte, ei parte, ei parte, ei parte, ei parte. Senti, ma no. All in the niche. I said, okay, keep on doing that. In that manner, she will have a very even emission through the whole area. And for the amount of voice that she has, it's just perfect. It's more than enough. And it was like that. The range of your Fiordiligi, you know, is really 2 octaves. This changing of earth, everything put here in this niche. And it works. She was stunned. But it is really the analysis of this second pair of ears and eyes. But you have to tell them, no, just you have to do this like this. Or, you know, certain phrases, new formats, you know, we have the whole possibilities that are very, very well described in the second book of Garcia.
Please, I would like to ask if somebody else has another situation to discuss. For example, Alan Burma, and then we go to Ilter and come back to Marianne. Alan Burma.
Hello.
About placement and about all this discussion that we are having.
Yeah, thank you, Francisco Raiza, for your wonderful talk, and I enjoy.
What a beautiful bass baritone voice.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, and I enjoy really very much that you sing, really, because often singers only talk, and they prefer to sing only on stage, but you illustrate with your voice, with your own voice, what you think. This is really, I think, very interesting topic. As you found from my voice, I am trained as singer, and I have been a singer in my life, but also I am voice scientist. So I am double thinking. We voice scientists. We want to explain in scientific way. So it's possible to check everything what you say with physical experiments and analysis. But I think that another thing is what singers do. Singers also have their experience, their way of thinking. So, for example, how I project my voice, or your bell. Your different entrances to that, and this approach is like in the language of metaphors. Mm-hmm. So it's as is, and because of that, this you have to show actually to your people and to other persons also with your voice what you think with those words, because if you simply use without showing, without sound, and especially to the ignorant persons, they may not understand you at all.
So even those students, you know, that are already quite advanced, when you tell them you have to solve this problem like this, you see immediately the question marks in their eyes. It won't function. So you have to show them really.
Yeah, show and repeat. Ask them to repeat, and if they do correct, you say yes, 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 and then these expressions and the way how you explain things start to have meaning and specific, very precise meaning.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I like very much our community, because we have both voice scientists and the best singers in the world, and how to put all those things together to have good communication with each other. So
one thing for you, for instance, now, doctors, specialists, scientists, Verdi singing, right? Says, what is Verdi singing? What is the main characteristic of the Verdi singing? Okay, the Verdi voice has to have the point of the spear in it. Okay, either you have it or you have it you don't have it, right? What if you don't have it? How can you achieve to get this point of the spear in your instrument that is not really born like that? What I say to these singers, I count myself to those singers that don't have the Verdi voice by nature. So I say to them, detach your throat from here and put it up as the Statue of the Liberty and sing on the flame. Then you can sing Verdi.
Yeah. Yeah, so something happens to your body. Yeah,
they can. Now, what happens to your body, dear doctor?
So, Francisco, can you please make a small sample of a phrase from Verdi and a phrase from Mozart?
Yes, Mozart.
Can you sing? Also explain, but singing also.
Sí. Yes, Mozart requires the absolute flexibility of the organ. Mozart, but you know, there are similarities because if you want to define Mozart singing, topic number one, instrumental singing. So you have to treat your voice as an instrument. The Mozart requires, if possible, a Stradivari that will be played in a masterly way. For that, you need elasticity, you need colors, immense amount of colors, and profound wisdom. Now, how do you sing a Mozart phrase? Una hora amorosa. Okay? Floating sound, very well placed, and keep it even through the whole piece. Could be. Una hora amorosa del nostro tesoro, dolce ristoro al cor porgerà. Okay, elastic, floating. Don't keep it in the same place. Now we have to, when we change ranges, of course, we have to use the second turning. Here, this area is the exercise for the second turning the whole time, okay? But then, Verdi, Macbeth, Macduff. You cannot sing, Ophelia. So you have to really detach, put it up. Figli miei, da quel tiranno tutti uccisi voi foste. Here, up there. And sing the whole time there.
So this is wonderful to hear the differences. And what can you tell us about Wagner and Richard Strauss, for example? Sorry.
Wagner, you have to think. What do you call that? A barrel of sound, because you have to be very strong underneath. very strong underneath, and you have to have the perfect departing static to produce full sounds without effort. How do you do that? Okay. If you sing like this, you are elastical, right? So you have to lean back like this so that you can place your voice as in the so-called magical point, which is here behind in your neck. You place it there and sing from there, because then the roar will become bigger, larger. Like this. Winterstürme wichen im Wonnemond, in mildem Lichte leuchtet ihr Land. Okay? Winterstürme wichen im Wonnemond. You get this here? Family is here. Mozart is in Europe.
And Richard Strauss?
Richard Strauss is a combination, because you cannot sing it like Wagner, even if it demands this kind of sounds. But the tessitura is higher in Strauss. And this small or big third higher. It's quite an amount of changing in the tessitura there. He brings you on the breaking range too often, much too often. And that makes it difficult from there to attack the high notes, which have to be really triumphant high notes. Italian repertoire is easier because it lets you relax a little bit from this breaking range. And from there, spin the high notes, especially in this calaf, no? He doesn't let you attack directly. And then he lets you drive down so that you can really hook your voice in a comfortable place, and from there, shoot it up. Make it easier.
And tell me about the differences that you can experience between lead and opera. Of course, we don't know the different genres, but we would like to hear your opinion. You began with the Bach, Schubert, and Haydn.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was educated as a lead singer. That was it's my expertise, so to say. We have to understand, for lead, you use the so-called chamber tone. And for opera, the operatic sound, the operatic tone. Okay? Nowadays, through our hearing, modern problems, but everything is louder and everything, the requirements for lead singing have changed a little bit. So you have to bring your chamber tone nearer to the opera tone. The communication between, the cooperation between both is nearer now than it was before. So when you use the chamber tone is, of course, not so strong. It has to be, but perfectly placed so that it can fill also a big hole, but in a very special way, in a gentler way, more gentle way. So you don't sing. Fremd bin ich. So. Fremd bin ich eingezogen, fremd zieh ich wieder aus. Irrmai war mir gewogen, mit manchen Blumenstrauß. Das Mädchen sprach von Liebe, die Mutter gar von ich. It's a complete sound, you see? What is the chamber sound? This is more compact, more manageable. You can make much more things, magical things, with such a sound, as with a big sound. With big sound, you have limitations in this subject. That's the main difference. Besides the fact that the lead is a dramatic episode in miniature. You have to feel all of the dramatic content in this miniature. So fill it up. And for that, you have to study very, very, very well, to analyze very, very well, to have lots of information about the process of the creation so that you are able to disassemble the composition and put it together again through your ideas, enhancing it with your ideas. Because you know, the lead composers very seldom give you an information about tempo. They write not too quickly, not too slow, gentle. And, okay, and no adagio, no andante, andante cantabile, allegro, very clear. No? So here you have in lead an immense amount of freedom to investigate and to form. Your artistical challenge is much, much, much bigger than in the opera. But if you combine the two disciplines, you achieve better results.
Wonderful. Emilio from our audience, he's asking me if you can tell us if there is a difference in the technique when you are singing lead or Mozart. This is a question from him to you.
It's a good question, you know, because you could say that you could implement the chamber tone just exactly like that, the chamber tone, but in the opera modus. The same, all the same morphology, the same capabilities, but in the opera modus, one-to-one.
Yes, this is really important because, as we know, the influence from one composer into another, it makes really special differences, but they have the same trend, like in the earliest 19th century and the last year of the 18th century.
And well, I would like to ask you, in which language do you sing more comfortable? Because you are, as we know, you are a Spanish speaker, so a Latin language, but you do learn Italian, French, English, and German. And you were defining all the German singing phrases with Erika Kubaszek, who was Austrian.
Strange enough, but being a Latin person, having a Latin throat, and also a Latin mentality, I felt more comfortable singing German repertoire. It's really funny because maybe because the challenge was bigger too. So to discover this world, this environment was quite amazing, especially through the hands of Maestra Kubaszek, our beloved Erika. She was such an exceptional musician. And when I met her, I had been already 2 years in the Goethe Institute learning German, so I could speak German already a little bit. And but digging in this kind of investigation process and literature, literature, immense literature that inspired me, of course, in any way. The morphology of the mechanical formation of the language, which has to be perfect. You have to hear every single syllable executed perfectly. It is also very interesting that these languages are called technical languages, because they require of you a very special exactitude in the phonation, in the process of phonation. So it is a constructed sound that you have to make sound natural. And I felt very comfortable because I learned that, and the voice just functioned perfectly. When I was singing Italian repertory, some sounds were out of place, the throat might have been a little bit too wide open. The dangers were more present as singing German repertory. I felt more secure, more, at ease there. But then from there, learning the big repertory then in the original languages and everything, I could put it together in the right way.
So could you agree with some singers that they say that through the musicality of Bach, Haydn, Schubert, they learn to sing properly? That is an opinion of many of the.
I agree absolutely with this opinion.
And that's why also the German precision in the phrases and in the language alone. Well, yes. It is also important. Yes. And I would like to say, after Ilter, you may ask also, please, Ilter.
So hello to everyone.
Come here.
Hey.
So
nearer,
we are.
Ilter.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I am so grateful for this wonderful masterclass. I have been giving vocalogy lectures in a conservatory, and in the first day I had my first step in the conservatory, I tried to translate these imaginative
Subjects,
yes, into the medical dictionary. You can translate it in an acoustical way, but I'm also trying to understand it in a biomechanical way. What happens when you say "ah"? When you say this, what happens in the vocal tract? When you say this, what happens in the glottic closure? Because as we know, the muscles, the cricothyroid pulls it from the front, and the posticus, which opens, also pulls it from the back, and the upper part of the glottis is being closed by the lateralis, and the lower part of it is being closed by the vocalis. And it's a wonderful mixture of these small 1 or 2 grams of muscles, and it becomes a huge sound in the opera arena. So I would like to thank you. We cannot thank you enough, because these knowledge that you told us is golden drops, which is coming from centuries away.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ilter. And Chris, I don't know if Marianne, could you open your micro? Marianne Speaker Henke? No. Okay. So don't worry. So Chris.
Okay, I had an observation when Francisco Araiza, when you were singing the Lustige Wiffe in German, with that soprano next to you. And I watch your face all the time during this conversation now. You're very animated. And when you're singing the German stuff, you were very flat in your face. You didn't have much expression. Is that something because it's not a native language to you? But how do you think about it?
No.
And it's not a Latin language for you, because all the other languages, they do basically Latin-based.
Yes. No, it has to do with the dramaturgy. You know, we have here an Oriental Chinese character from people that you never know what the face is telling you. The expressiveness of the faces of Oriental people can be so unbelievably limited that you cannot read anything out of them.
Yeah, it's controlled, no question about it. Right.
Absolutely. And that's why that's a dramaturgical motive there. Not vocal or language related.
But you feel comfortable, very comfortable in singing in German, correctly?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And you said actually it's better for you than Italian or Spanish or
It was at the beginning. Okay. Yes.
One more thing to you. At the very beginning of the discussion, you were talking about something, physical content or physical cost of singing. And I was thinking, well, you know, are you referring to something like the Alexander technique of preparing your body to be connected, but not overloading a specific muscle?
Alexander technique is great. Absolutely great. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I understood you correctly. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yes, and I don't know if Wolfram Seidner could open his micro. I know we cannot see him, but I don't know if he would like to say something. And I don't know, Wolfram, if you can say something about this discussion. Otherwise, we shall leave for the next World Voice Day. And
Eugenia.
Yes, yes, Iris, you have to tell us, and then Peter.
Eugenia. Okay, I'm Iris Rodriguez from Buenos Aires, Maestro Francisco Araiza. I'm very happy. Hola, I'm very happy to meet you. It was a gift for us to have you in this session. And Eugenia, this is fantastic session. I would like to thank you very much. Gracias, Eugenia. Gracias, Maestro Francisco Araiza.
Thank you for your nice words.
This is a wonderful afternoon in Argentina. I spend 2 hours, almost 3 hours with you. It's a very, very good opportunity to have a very happiness, you know. And,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Peter.
One more question for me. Have you got any special warming ups or rituals before singing?
Oh yes, we are full of rituals.
And what kind
everything, everything. You know, when you are really singing almost every second or third day, you have really to have a process, a discipline, and it becomes a right because ritus. Because otherwise you cannot cope with it. First of all, is good sleep. To have a good sleep, and for singing, 8 hours is okay for the rehearsals, but for the performance, at least 10. Even if you don't sleep really, these 2 hours extra, the lying body thanks you when you are on the stage. And then, of course, for singing, no alcohol 2 days before the performance, 0. No sex the night before. And of course, during the day of the performance, not at all. Don't even think about it. To be very wise in choosing your meals, what you're going to eat in the day of the performance, because you have to make out which food gives you the stamina, the power, and the longevity of energy flow. Because you know, if you eat a pasta, your body metabolizes that very quickly. And if you sing a Wagner opera 4 hours, after the second pause, you're going to be totally empty. And you cannot eat in between the acts. So you have to really have your energy level at the top from the beginning until the end. And you have to choose very wise your diet. What's best for you. For me, was a tasteful big steak. I had to have steak on the day of the performance. And so as I was singing a lot, I had to be very careful not to overdo my consumption of red meat. Those, you know, probable problems that can arrive out of that. But thanks God, I could balance it very, very well. You don't talk on the day of the performance, not on the telephone, not like that. It is, and you have to take a nap in the afternoon, so that when you wake up from this nap, you are focused on the performance. So you take your meals, and so everything focused for the performance. And the best is to warm up in a manner that you have 1 full hour when you quit warming up and when you sing your first note on the stage. And the most difficult thing is not to sing in between, in this hour. Not to, oh, let's try the voice. Oh, no, nothing.
Mm-hmm. And the special Corelli drops.
And the special Corelli drops, of course. Don't forget that.
And another thing that is important, and I want to say hello to the Francisco Araiza direct family, of course, his dear wife and his children, and also to his sisters and his brothers and his nephew Alejandro, that is also a very nice singer. And also, I think we cannot forget that the family support of a singer in his career, like you have experience, is very important, because they have to deal with this divinity that is in the singer presentations. I don't know what do you want to tell us about this family support and this family relationship with the singer, because the anxiety and the feelings that the singer is going to have before his presentation on stage is quite a difficult situation.
I can say something. My sister Lupita, she would develop the skill that would tell her how I was feeling on the stage. And she knew, oh, it's going to be a performance that I'm going to enjoy, or it's going to be hard work. Because of the ways I formed my lips during the singing. The first notes, she knew, oh, now he's going to sing technically. Oh no, now we're going to enjoy.
This is quite a comment, no? I don't know if somebody from the audience wants to ask something to Maestro Araiza. Well, another thing that is also very important to talk about your experience during flights, because as we know, many of the international career singers, they do need to fly, and sometimes they come to the rehearsal or to the production with a very small space, and sometimes they have to be there without eating, without warming up, and sometimes they have to be in transmission and broadcast and television, and they have to talk a lot before singing. So what is your experience? You already told us that you have a special silent spaces before the presentations.
Yes, flying is quite a subject. You know, we have if you're flying intercontinental, there is 11 hours, 12 hours of flight. And now they are enhancing the humidity on the cabins, but you cannot have a high humidity because of the weight. And so you have humidity for about 7 till 12% for 12 hours. So the pilots are obliged to be drinking steady, big amounts of water periodically, in a way that they maybe drink 2 liters each hour of water, in order to be able to keep the full capability, you know, and full awake and alert. The passengers, another question. You can relax, you can enjoy and read or watch movies or listen to your recordings or whatever that you're preparing. And it's not so important that you are alert and awakened during the flight. But the dryness is quite a subject. And you have to force yourself to drink much more than usual. And from the stewardess, the stewards come, you know, with a glass of water. In this moment, no more due to the pandemic, but when there was no pandemic, they came with orange juice or water. And I said, what if every time when the steward comes, I take 1 glass and drink it? Well, the results were great, much better, because I was not so dry as when I just looked them walk by and didn't take one of the offerings there. But I have to tell you something. I was careful in flights to have enough liquid to drink. But one day I was, what I did was that I never sang immediately after a flight. I wanted to have 2 or 3 days to reaccommodate, you know, the membranes and so on for the humidification and everything. But one day I was rehearsing Master Singer at the Metropolitan, and I get a call if I could rescue the premiere of Lucia at La Bastille in Paris. And I was so concentrated in the Meister Singer. It was the first time I was going to sing the Walter, and at the Metropolitan, a huge, fantastic production. And I didn't want to have these problems, you know, to travel and risk to get infected in the flight and the wearing down of your reserves and energy of the voice by doing this kind of adventures. But well, they asked, and it was one of the houses I was singing very often, and I said, okay, I will come, sing the general rehearsal, and then 2 days later sing the premiere. So I arrived and I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to mark, only to mark the general rehearsal. I won't sing full voice. Oh yes, it's no problem, no problem. Well, they knew me, they trusted me. I sang, so I went to sleep. No, sorry. It was exactly the next day. We didn't have a day in between. The next day was the premiere. So I went to the rehearsal, marked the rehearsal, and then went to sleep. And the next day I had to sing the premiere. I was worried because I didn't have this lapsus where I could really recover from the dryness of the flight. But you know what? I sang the best Lucia of my life. The voice was just there. I could do everything I want. But I said, it's something that I cannot try every time. Yeah.
Yes, there are surprises, good surprises and bad surprises.
Right.
But anyway, as we know, the singer needs special routines and special care.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you have to be dictator, but the voice is a dictator if you don't take really care, because
yes.
on the modern times, as we know, sometimes the producers, or you want to work or you want to sing such a role, and so you are under pressure, economical pressure, artistic pressure, and professional pressure, and then you can hurt yourself. As we know, many singers have hurt themselves because they are talking too much, they are making productions that are not proper for their voices, and things like that happen. I don't know if you have also this kind of experiences that you have to stop and say, one moment, I have to think about that.
No, you know, I was, as I said before, I was very careful in my writers of the day of the performance. But sometimes I had colleagues that were singing in their hotel room the whole day, sing praises and warming up and singing. Yes, of course, when they arrived to the theater, the voice was stood in the room, in the hotel room, logically. But it is really very, very, very important that you take care of your instrument, especially as a tenor. Tenor voice is the most difficult to create, to educate, and the most difficult to keep in shape.
No, this is important, because we are hearing that from you, but we are dealing daily with the singers that sometimes they do think that the phoniatricians or the ENT, we exaggerate the things.
No, you are our angels.
And I would like our dear CoMeT members, if Andrea, Richie, Macarini, Isabel, if you have some questions, Marco Fantini, if you have some questions, because we are almost on the final talking with our dear Maestro Francisco Araiza. If you have if somebody want to ask something. Yes, Andrea?
No, thank you. I'm fascinating by Francisco Araiza. Thank you very much for all you teach to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're very kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. And Isabel from Madrid?
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this. Hola, ¿cómo está, maestro? Muchas gracias. Ha sido un honor escucharle. I have learned such a lot of things about voice technique, and you explain so well all the technique aspects because you explain and you also sing it, and so you can we can hear both things, the explanation and your sound, your magnificent sound. So thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to hear you and a privilege to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marco Fantini, would you like to say something? Or Mati? Well, I think...
Yeah, thank you very much for this lecture. Very.
Your micro is closed. Mati, your micro is closed. Pick off, Martin. Yeah. Okay. So I think, Francisco, this is really wonderful to not only to have here you the technical things, but also as everybody agreed, pedagogical explanations, but also you said something very important, that you can be a musikalischer Mensch oder amusikalischer Mensch. So that means musischer Mensch or a musischer Mensch. But I do think that also the heritage from your family, your father, your mother, and also the atmosphere where you grew up with all the music, hearing your father as an organist and singing also as a child, and also enjoying the instruments, made you this capacity and this talent to develop, because as we know, mainly, well, all over Europe, but also in Latin America and Asia, of course, we are developing the children with the many techniques, for example, Karl Orff, and many musical techniques in order to develop the brain capacities for music, but also it will help the singing. And this is another question I wanted to ask you about your own family, for example, your children, because they grew up with your genes, but also with the atmosphere of the opera.
Well, yes, I want to thank my family because they have been all my life an incredible support. I was just a couple of days was listening to an interview that was made for my sister, for my sister Rosa, the doctor. And she was telling her story. And I could see so many parallels, and putting them together to the origins of what we are. Indeed, we are so thankful to our parents that educated us in a way that gave us really the values that are important to go paths that are not easy, that can be ambitious, but pursue these paths with discipline, with energy, and with resilience. Keep focused and achieve the goals. All of my brothers and sisters are like that. And that's what we have been trying to give further to our children. And I think we have done good good works there too. So I'm very thankful to my family and to our children too, because they make us all so happy with every achievement of them.
So we thank also your family, because we as your fans and as your audience, we enjoy this discipline, this education that you have. And also we thank very much to your singing teacher, the great Irma Gonzalez, and to Erika Kubashek, and of course to all the persons that made possible that you develop your career. But mainly we thank you for your patience to be with us, to share with us all your personal experiences, dear Paco. And well, this is a 17-year anniversary and 50 years career. But as we know, this is eternal. And as somebody said in the chat, infinite thanks to you. And also, you become a legend of the opera, a legend of the tenors. And I have this magnificent book of the tenors. And of course, we thank you very, very, very much. And please, a big applause to you, even though it's live, but you have the world saying to you, thank you for your art, thank you for your education, thank you for your spirit and for your mind.
Thank you, dear doctor. I want to thank also, you know, when I thank my family, I also always take for granted that my wife is included. But in this moment, I really want to thank her, especially because she was my companion in this whole adventure of the singing career. My life as an artist was really possible only with her support. And now our children also that are so fantastic and human beings, and they pursue their dreams as well as we did at our time. And another little thing to Dr. Hulin, that regarding his question, that about the routine of exercises, we do have different routines to create a voice, to construct a voice, to keep a voice healthy and everything. But the routine that we use to warm up for a performance depends really on the performance that we are going to sing, what is required from us for the preparation, for the special role of the evening. And one of the wise advices from Maestra Irma Gonzalez was never sing on the stage a note that you didn't try before in the dressing room. So you have to really pass, you know, accommodate your routine to what you are going to give on the stage.
Yes, that's very important also.
Yes.
And also, well, you are a Latin singer, and we do know that many of the great tenors of many times has this Latin heritage because of the art of larynx. And as we know, we have wonderful Mexican tenors, and you made a pathway for them, because it is not easy to be under the very high pressure of the big opera directors like Herbert von Karajan, Karl Böhm, and so on, and also in another languages, in another cultures. So it's really a pride to talk about Mexican great tenors as a legend. So we thank you very much. I don't know if somebody wants to say something.
And yes, Eugenia, I would like to ask to the Maestro Araiza, because we were talking about the routine of the thing that you do before the performance. What do you do after the performance? You keep silent, you go to the hotel immediately. What do you do?
Well, you know, usually you are so full of energy still, you know. The hormones are, you know, the revolution. You have to be aware that we are night people. So we have to move our schedule to go to bed, to sleep, etc., so that we are fresh when we start the performance and are not already getting, you know, some kind of sleepy where the last act is going to begin. So after the performance, we usually have still time that we will be awakened and active.
Yes.
So it is good if we can enjoy a little bit with friends, though these friends have to know that the artist is not going to talk a lot. So don't ask too many questions, better say something yourself, you know, and so be a good company to enjoy and share the time after the performance together. But the artist shouldn't work after the performance as well.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure.
Gracias,
Yes,
muchas gracias.
We have now the cool down exercises with the innuendo and also with the singing low notes and things like that. It's also very interesting.
Yeah, you know,
also,
to drive down your adrenaline, you know, this adrenaline keeps you know, running.
And many dear greetings to you, to your sister Alejandra, to your brother Rafael, and also to my dear friend Georgina, to Roman, and to many other that came us. And Rosa Maria Valdivia sends you many greetings. She was with you in the conservatory. So it is really a great pleasure. As you know, we are going to record. We have already recorded all these sessions, also with the live discussion, that you may see that in our webpage, CoMeT Collegium, next week. And also we invite you to the celebration of Maestro Araiza. Of course, we are not going to take so much time next time, dear Francisco, for the World Voice Day Mexico and the World Voice Day International, because you are a legend, you belong to the world, and you belong to Mexico. So I thank you dearly, everybody, to stay so long with us, because we have been recording many sessions with Maestro Araiza since last year. And so we enjoy very much being with you. Dear greetings to your family and to all the world, and to the greatest directors that had this confidence on you, and mainly to you, dear Francisco. Feliz
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Eugenia. Thank you so much for this honor. And thank you, all of you.
And Collegium Medicorum Theatri, salute you dearly.
Thank you.
And bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for being with
us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, dear Wolfgang, Karen, Marco, Jan.
Gracias.
Gracias a ustedes.
And of course, also Jose Manuel was with us, Osvaldo.
Maestro.
Hola, gusto en verte, José Manuel.
Igualmente.
Ángel Triana, Ángel Jiménez, María Marta, Harmut Bartelt. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
Gracias. Bye.
Wiederschauen.
Wiederschauen.
Ciao. 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 Ciao.